Reincarnation I plus return to Yuan. Qigong Master. This is stable. By the way. How could steel tendons and iron bones still react with white eyes? Hinata Clan, single female lead keywords of the novel. Fighter walking out from the sun without a pop-up window, fighter walking out from the sun. Download the complete set of TXT, and read the latest chapters of Fighter Walking Out from the Sun. Chapter 1. Qigong Master who has been practicing for 2.5 years. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Qigong Master who has been practicing for 2.5 years, vulgar, too vulgar. Under a tree, a child with black hair and white eyes, who looked only about 5 years old, raised his eyebrows, pursed his mouth, and looked at the faint golden light in his hands with a disdainful expression. But the pride that could not be concealed from the corners of his eyes betrayed the true thoughts of the cultivator. However, besides the slightly tacky color, the aura is actually decent. Dispelling the faint golden light from his hands, the abbot leaned against a tree and gazed at a nearby lake. I have been in this world for 5.5 years now. Although I don't have a system, I still have a set of techniques that can be practiced from a Qigong master to a returning Qigong master. Although the progress of the latter may not be as fast as the former, the latter also gives the repairman enough freedom. You can avoid doing things that may make you feel difficult. However, the latter is also really slow. I started practicing at the age of 3 and have only just stepped into the threshold of mindfulness today. For 2.5 years, Shosi has been doing something. Let your heart calm down so that you can feel something in nature. It's quite difficult. It's really difficult. The most important thing is that after mastering the mindfulness, the cultivator can finally confirm. I am not a lunatic. What's in my mind is really a golden finger. Sigh. With a long sigh, Shosi reluctantly smacked his lips. Really, how can you say that Heiju still save his mother? How can you plant trees in the ninja world with this large wooden barrel? How can you continue to execute the Eye of the Month plan? I really feel uncomfortable for Mr. Ban just thinking about it. Having treated Qianshou Zhujian as an enemy for a lifetime, the final plan was ultimately picked out by the person who was facing it day by day. What should you do about this? Although the current cultivators not only achieve the achievement of the Mad Tiger Emperor, but also recite the Emperor. Even a Qigong master still has a considerable distance to go. But Shosi has now begun to fantasize about rubbing Pain 6 onto the ground. Although there is no system, it may not be possible to achieve 5-year-old Super Shadow, 6-year-old 6 Paths. But at the age of 18, there's no problem hitting a paralyzed ninja, right? Are you from the Hinata family? At this moment, a somewhat crisp female voice came through, and Shosi instinctively smelled the sound and looked around, only to find that it was a little girl wearing a black windbreaker with the Uchiha clan emblem printed on it. Ah! The inherently evil Uchiha. However, evil returns to evil, and his appearance still meets Uchiha standards. In the eyes of Shosi, the person in front of him had fair skin, delicate facial features, black hair draped over his shoulders, and was wearing the most common black windbreaker of the Yukibo clan. Under the windbreaker, there is a simple white lining in black shorts. The shorts and a pair of black knee socks form an absolute realm. You know, we need to reject immature aesthetics. Starting from the sun to the sun. Yeah, are you from the Uchiha family? Upon hearing this, Hinata Shosi stood up and gave a sunny and cheerful smile to the little girl in front of him. A beautiful opposite sex always brings joy to one's mood. Especially since the cultivator has just achieved the achievement of a half-step Qigong master, his mood is already very happy. Well, my name is Yuzibo Meichin. It's our first time meeting, please give me some guidance. Upon hearing this, Meichin bowed to Hinata Shosi and whispered. Ah! My name is Hideyoshi Hinata. It's our first time meeting, please give me some guidance. Upon hearing this, Shosi was taken aback, but he did not expect that the person who came was actually the mother of the legendary reincarnation of Indra, Uchiha Sasuke, and the great filial son of the ninja realm, Uchiha Itachi. Is today a day off, Shio Sijuan? Looking up, Mei-chin asked the Shosi in front of her. The biggest difference between children from the ninja family and those from the Minzu family is that children from the ninja family start practicing at the age of 3 or 4. Like the Uchiha clan, by the time they attend ninja school, they have basically learned how to play Hogwarts. The Hinata clan is also similar, and the minimum standard before attending ninja school is to proficiently apply soft boxing to practical combat. Therefore, for children of the ninja race, the period from the age of 3 or 4 to attending ninja school is crucial. The things to do every day are practicing body techniques, practicing chakra extraction techniques, practicing 12 fingerprints, and practicing chakra control. Holidays. Not existing. Rest. He will be beaten. Do you have rest time at Uchiha's house? Therefore, upon hearing this, Shio Si was taken aback and looked at the Uchiha Mei-chin in front of him with some surprise. No, there isn't. Mei-chin was also taken aback at the words and then said honestly. Oh, that's good then. Shio Si breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing the words, and upon hearing Mei-chin's answer, his heart immediately became much more balanced. Ha! Mei-chin was taken aback at the words. What does that mean? Why did you breathe a sigh of relief? So what are you doing today? After speaking, Shio Si asked Yuji Bo Mei-chin. My parents have gone out to do tasks. Upon hearing this, Mei-chin's face immediately showed an indescribable smile. And you? After speaking, Yuji Bomikin asked Shio Si. Me too. Upon hearing this, Shio Si also burst into laughter. For children of various ninja tribes, it is truly a joyful thing for parents to go out and do tasks. Did your parents leave you homework before going out to do tasks? Shio Si sat back under the tree and asked Mei-chin. Sigh. It's said that before they come back, I need to learn the art of the fireball. Upon hearing this, Mei-chin's smile gradually faded from her face and she sat next to Shio Si, holding her chin with one hand and looking melancholy at the nearby lake. Really? That should be quite difficult, right? Upon hearing this, Shio Si immediately laughed and said to the Uchiha Mei-chin beside him. Although Huichyo is just a C-level ninjutsu, there aren't many seals to be made. But the difficulty is not the speed and sequence of printing. Even if it's difficult, there's no need to study for 2 or 3 years. The real challenge lies in the control over chakras and how to convert them into flames. Difficult, very difficult, very difficult. Mei-chin's face twisted with pain upon hearing the words. It's simply impossible to do. With her hands spread out, Mei-chin said with a slight breakdown. Why don't you hurry up and practice now? Upon hearing this, Shio Si immediately turned to Mei-chin and said. Let's take a 2-day break first. Upon hearing this, Mei-chin shook her head and finally had such an opportunity. If she didn't rest for 2 days, she always felt like something was missing. Oh, then when your parents come back and find out that you haven't learned how to play Hogwarts, you'll be miserable. Upon hearing this, Shio Si nodded, without any intention of forcing Yuji Bo Mei-chin to practice. What does it have to do with me whether she cultivates or not? Anyway, it's not me who got beaten up. It's okay, I've never completed the task they left me. I've been resting for 2 days now. What's the point of getting beaten up? Mei-chin blinked at the words and asked Hinata Shio Si beside her. Shio Si was taken aback by the words and it took him a while to react. This sister. Transparent. New book starts, seeking support. Wow, end of this chapter. Chapter 2, it feels a bit like a journey through time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2, this feeling. It's a bit like traveling, it makes sense. Upon hearing this, Shio Si nodded in admiration and said. What about you? didn't your parents leave you a task when they left? Upon hearing this, Mei-chin adjusted her emotions and asked Shoshi. Under the hopeful gaze, it was Mei-chin's urgent desire to hear others feel the same miserable mood as herself. Ah! When my parents left, they said they wanted me to open my eyes. Upon hearing this, Shoshi shrugged and said to Mei-chin. Ah! That should be quite difficult, right? Mei-chin blinked at the words, and a smile began to unconsciously appear at the corner of her mouth. Opening the blood inheritance limit is much more difficult than learning a ninjutsu. Inexplicably, Mei-chin felt much better about herself. It should be quite difficult, right? But it doesn't matter. I started having a blind eye last year, so. Upon hearing this, Shoshi glanced askance at Uchiha Mei-chin and indeed saw the moment when Mei-chin's smile solidified on her face. By the way, Shoshi-juan, I heard that the Hinata clan is known as the one body art family of the wood leaf, so can I practice body art with you? After adjusting her mindset, Mei-chin tried her best to make a smile appear on her face and asked Hinata Shoshi. I really want to rest, but I also really want to fight with Shoshi. Because Mei-chin knows one thing very well, which is to rest. You can rest any time. But the members of the Hinata clan don't know when they will meet again. Everyone has a lazy mindset, but children born in the realm of ninja have a genuine desire for power. Even, it can suppress laziness. Ah! Good. Upon hearing this, Shoshi glanced at Uchiha Mei-chin, stood up, and said to Mei-chin. Making friends with people from the Uchiha clan is definitely not a problem. Anyway, regardless of whether the Uchiha clan will be exterminated or not, the flames of extermination cannot reach Hinata. And if we have a good relationship with Mei-chin, it can also be considered as a preparation for the future meeting with Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi. As he spoke, Shoshi hid his right hand behind his back, while the other hand, with the palm facing upwards, extended towards the Uchiha Mei-chin. Of course, this does not mean that the cultivator wants to give Yuzhibo Mei-chin one hand or pull it up to showcase his gentlemanly demeanor. This is just a starting style that Shoshi prefers. Thank you. Upon hearing this, Mei-chin stood up and bowed to Shoshi before putting on a posture. After a moment of confrontation between the two sides, Mei-chin saw that Shoshi had no intention of taking action first, so she launched an attack directly on Shoshi. In the midst of a meteor shower, the speed suddenly increased. As they were about to reach Hinata Shoshi, Uchiha Mei-chin jumped up fiercely and launched a swift punch from top to bottom towards Shoshi. This is Mei-chin's favorite opening, using the strongest strength and fastest speed to give the opponent the greatest pressure. When practicing physical fitness with peers within the clan, the first reaction to such a punch, regardless of gender, is always to dodge. And in this way, we can completely take the initiative. But to Uchiha Mei-chin's surprise, Hinata no longer had any intention of avoiding it. However, Mei-chin is not very worried either. The person in front of her is known as the strongest body technique family of Kiba and a genius of the Hinata clan. Yes, no matter which bloodline lineage, anyone who can open the bloodline boundary at such a young age is a genius. Sure enough, Shoshi began to move. Extend the palm in front and swipe towards the side of the body while retreating to the side. After playing Mei-chin empty, when her body was uncontrollably swaying towards Shoshi, Shoshi also followed Mei-chin's speed and retreated. After the natural release of force was almost complete, Shoshi grabbed Mei-chin's arm joint with a palm, and at the same time, his hand behind him directly slapped Mei-chin's chest with a palm. Bang! With a soft sound, Mei-chin was hit hard in the chest and almost instinctively began to retreat. The force of retreat also acted on the hand of Shoshi holding the Mei-chin wrist. However, Shoshi did not intend to hold the Mei-chin with one hand. The hand holding Mei-chin's arm joint relaxed slightly, and Mei-chin's body quickly retreated. Grasp the Mei-chin forcefully as you slide your hand onto its wrist. And the hand that just hit Mei-chin's chest also grabbed Mei-chin's arm joint directly through the reaction force. Apply force with both hands simultaneously, and Shio-si rotates in place. When a sense of weightlessness emerged, Uchiha Meichin knew that she was doomed. Click. A crisp sound sounded, and Meichin almost immediately sensed that her arm should have been dislocated. Accompanied by the sound of dislocations, there was also the sound of a heavy object landing. Bang! Who? Watching the Meichin, which had been thrown to the ground by himself over the shoulder and stirred up a layer of dust, Shio-si slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, took 2 steps back, and distanced himself from the Yuzhibo Meichin by a safe distance. The clothes were just washed yesterday, and today Shio-si is not planning to play ground skills with anyone. Cough. Cough cough. Yuzhibo Meichin stood up with one hand supporting the ground, blinking her eyes frequently to alleviate the dizziness of being thrown into a state of being all meat and vegetables. I slapped my chest and my breath was a bit unstable. So strong. The hand that was previously grabbed by Shio-si is now completely powerless. Helpless, Meichin gave the Shio-si a thumbs up with her other intact hand. So strong. Is this Rochuan? A brief encounter, but it gave Meichin a great shock. So. Can physical skills still be used like this? I guess so. Upon hearing this, Shio-si pondered slightly and said to Yuzhibo Meichin with uncertainty. It's a soft fist, but not entirely a soft fist. A part of it was learned from the inheritance of Qigong Masters. As a system that has developed for countless years, the Qigong Master system contains too many combat skills. For example, besides the combo and over-shoulder throw that Shio-si just used, there are also combat techniques such as using force and adapting to local conditions. One of the most representative ones is the sand thrown by street bullies who play with flowers. So, Shio-si is not very confident. In the future, at the ninja school, if Meichin encounters other members of the Hinata tribe, she will face the same soft fists as herself. So, should we continue? After speaking, Shio-si continued to ask Meichin. No, my arm seems to have dislocated. Upon hearing this, Meichin shook her head and covered her arm, saying to Shio-si. After speaking, Meichin seemed to have thought of something. How can you practice ninjutsu even if it's broken and your arm is dislocated? Without waiting for Shio-si to say anything, Meichin continued speaking ahead of her. I don't need to practice anymore. After speaking, Meichin gave Shio-si a malicious glance and turned around to run. Hello. Shio-si was taken aback at the words, but after a while, he suddenly realized that, my goodness, did this sister blame herself for the problem? And with this brief hesitation, Meichin had already run far away. Seeing this, Shio-si was not prepared to pursue him either, after all. Compared to the negotiations between the two families, Shio-si believes that Meichin's parents would be more willing to beat Meichin up. Hello. At this moment, Meichin suddenly stopped her figure, turned around, and shouted to Hinata Shio-si. Upon hearing this, Shio-si turned to look at Yuzhibo Meichin. Can we still meet tomorrow? Meichin looked at the monk standing in place and asked loudly. The time spent together is not very long, but Meichin hopes to continue tomorrow. That depends on whether my parents come back tonight. Upon hearing this, Shio-si chuckled lightly and said to Meichin. Your parents will definitely not come back. After speaking, Meichin turned around and ran home. Haha. Upon seeing this, Shio-si chuckled lightly and didn't take it to heart. He just turned around and walked towards Hinata's home. Walking leisurely on the road with his hands behind his back, Shio-si's thoughts had already flown out. This is a habit that Shio-si has developed in his past life. Shio-si was a web writer in his past life. I usually like to think about things while walking, but later developed into thinking about things while driving. Later on, next year Shio-si will be attending ninja school. Just quite fast. Now that the mind energy has been mastered, the next step is to accumulate it well and practice the level of mastery of it. There is no way to promote to the crazy Tiger Emperor as soon as possible. After all, this world is the realm of ninja, not the virtual ancestor of the Arad continent. There is no tattoo artist or corresponding materials at all, and even the mindfulness tattoo as a forbidden technique has not appeared in the inheritance. This also leads to the fact that the cultivator cannot take the shortcut of mindfulness tattoos. Belongs to a channel where even if you want to save your life, you don't have to save your life. Besides the cultivation of mindfulness, the cultivation of ninjutsu cannot be neglected. After all, the upper limit of the Hinata clan is still very high. Shio-si is not prepared to give up the reincarnation eye. Perhaps without the inheritance of mindfulness, it is difficult for Shio-si to obtain the materials for synthesizing the reincarnation eye from the people of the big tube wooden house solely relying on the bagua palm. However, with the cultivation of mindfulness, it is not difficult to defeat the cultivator. Especially a selfless person without reincarnation eyes. Anyway, the moon is definitely going, and there must be an eye for reincarnation between the cultivator and the monk. So, medical ninjutsu becomes very important, and how to use the blood of a sacrificial person to supplement one's own genes has become the main direction of Shio-si's future strategy. Hey! Get out of the way! At this moment, a loud shout suddenly rang out, and the cultivator instantly regained his senses. Subconsciously, upon hearing the sound, he only saw a green silhouette. The next moment, Shio-si felt like he was flying. This feeling is a bit similar to when I traveled through my past life. Everyone, if you have any opinions, you can leave a message. End of this chapter. Chapter 3, Do you call this ninja? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3, Do you call this ninja? After preparing to complete the task of sending documents, Matt Dai went back to practice and became foolish. The documents in his hand were scattered all over the ground with a clatter, and Matt Dai felt a little confused as he touched his face, which still had some residual warmth. Should I choose to defect now? Matt looked at the child who had been knocked out by himself, crashed into a wall, and finally slowly and weakly fell to the ground. He blinked in confusion. Please be patient, please stand still and accept our investigation by the Kiba police force. Before Matt Dai could react, a voice suddenly rang out. Matt Dai looked up in confusion and looked at the person wearing the uniform of the Woodleaf police force. Take this child to my hospital and notify his family. Yuchibo Yuan Hui, who happened to be patrolling nearby, looked at Maite Dai in front of him and said to the team members beside him. Yes. Upon hearing this, two Uchiha immediately picked up the completely unconscious Hinata cultivator and rushed towards the Kiba hospital. Name. With a flash of his figure, Uchiha Motohui approached Maite Dai and asked coldly. Matt Dai. Maite Dai listened very obediently and said. Ninja number. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Motohui nodded and continued to record in his notebook. 003 My hospital. Sir. How is my brother doing? Rescuing the outdoor area, Hinata Shuji's sister Hinata Daisy grabbed the arm of Uchiha Yenhui, a member of the Kiba police force who had been guarding the rescue room. The injury is very serious, and it happens that Lord Gangsho is in the hospital. Now, Lord Gangsho is undergoing rescue inside. Speaking of which, Yenhui looked at the little girl in front of him who didn't even cover the bird mark in the forehead cage, paused, and continued speaking. Don't worry, your brother will definitely be fine. The undeniable urgency in the little girl's eyes reminded Yenhui of himself who had been guarding his brother's emergency room. A heart softened uncontrollably. Who could have imagined such a sibling relationship in the Hinata family? That injured child used to be very kind to his sister, right? Who did it? Ah! How many people in his family are going to endure it? At that moment, a roaring sound rang out, and Hinata, who had learned the news, shouted loudly and strode over with the day difference. Yuzhibo Yenhui frowned lightly and looked expressionlessly at Hinata, who was walking with great momentum. "Sir, could you please tell me who did it?" When he saw Uchiha Yenhui wearing the uniform of the Kiba police force, the anger on Hinata's face instantly disappeared, replaced by a gentle smile. Showcasing the style of a wealthy family. "And then what? And then what do you want to do?" Yuzhibo Yenhui looked at the 5-year-old Hinata little ghost in front of him with a cold face. "Sir, you may not know that the person who was injured inside is the most outstanding genius of our Hinata clan. He was beaten like this, and we must know who the other person is, right?" Hinata heard the words and said to Uchiha Yenhui. "Sir." Hinata Daisy eagerly looked at Uchiha Yenhui in front of her upon hearing the words. "The other person's name is Maite Dai, and he is known for his patience. Moreover, it was not a fight, it was a collision." Upon hearing this, Uchiha Yenhui said to Hinata, "Can you endure it? Did you hit it?" Hinata was taken aback at the words and looked incredulously at Uchiha Yenhui in front of her. At this moment, Hinata felt a bit annoyed by the phrase he had just made about the most outstanding genius of the Hinata clan. Well, a young man in his 20s. Upon hearing this, Yuzhibo Yenhui nodded. Yuzhibo Yenhui couldn't figure out why a child could be bumped into like this with just a little patience. That's just running at a slower pace. Even if he is a 20-year-old ninja. I don't understand why you knocked a child away. Can't you even control your own body? Uchiha Motohui asked Matida in confusion. Maite Dai pursed his lips upon hearing this and said to Yuchibo Yuanhui in front of him with some fear. "Sir, I'm very sorry that I didn't control my body during an emergency because I just changed my load yesterday." "Load? How much does it weigh?" Upon hearing this, Yuchibo Yuanhui was taken aback and asked in surprise towards Maite Dai in front of her. "That's really interesting. Is that a reason? Is it just a load that can knock people into that shape?" "I'm not sure either. Usually, when I get used to it, I just add a few more pieces." Upon hearing this, Maite Dai spoke and took off the weight tied to his leg. "Let me take a look." Upon hearing this, Uchiha Motohui put away his notebook and stepped forward to take the weight from Maite Dai's hand. Maite Dai nodded at the words and released his hand when he saw Yujibo Yuanhui holding it. At that moment, the unprepared Yujibo Yuanhui was almost thrown towards the ground with the weight in her hand. "Is this a ninja?" Yuchibo Yuanhui looked incredulously at Maite Dai in front of her. "I still have a lot of weight on me." Maite Dai continued to speak to Yuchibo Yuanhui upon seeing this. "I understand." Upon hearing the words, Yuchibo Yuanhui nodded, although struggling, still casually handed the weight in his hand to Maite Dai. "Take care of your load, I will help you complete your task. Now you and I will go to the Kiba hospital together." "Yes." Maite Dai nodded at the words, took back his own weight and retied it, watching as Yujibo Yuanhui in front of him separated a shadow clone to complete the task on his behalf. "Sir, will I go to Kiba prison?" On the way, Maite Dai asked Yuzibo Yuanhui with some nervousness. "It mainly depends on whether the other party will pursue your responsibility." Upon hearing this, Yuchibo Yuanhui said to Maite Dai. "If that child wakes up, you try your best to be forgiven." After thinking for a moment, Yuchibo Yuanhui continued to speak to Maite Dai. "I understand. I will definitely get forgiveness." Maite Dai nodded at the words and extended a thumb across his chest. In the smile that revealed his teeth, a tiger tooth appeared particularly bright. "Ah! Ah!" Upon hearing this, Yuchibo Yuanhui was taken aback and instinctively took 2 steps away from Maite Dai. "It seems reasonable to make such a person endure." "Rizu, how are you doing now?" At this time, the leader of the Hinata clan, Hinata Dahong, also arrived at the Kiba hospital. "Still under rescue." Upon hearing this, Hinata approached Hinata Dahong and said to his father. "Ding! At this moment, the door to the rescue room was opened, and as a bed cart was pushed out, Tsunato's figure also appeared in front of everyone. End of this chapter. Chapter 4, See if I'm right or wrong, then you're done. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4, See if I'm right or wrong, then you're done. Lord Gangsho, how is the situation? Upon seeing this, Hinata Dahong quickly took 2 steps forward and arrived in front of Tsunade. The situation is not very good, with 4 broken ribs and varying degrees of trauma to organs. Whether the child can wake up depends on their physical condition. Gangsho shook his head upon hearing the words, and his face also showed some reluctance. After all, that is a 5-year-old child and still a member of the Hinata clan. He must have a bright and flat future. But now, even if you wake up, you may not be able to become a ninja anymore. I hope Lord Dahong can have a psychological preparation. After speaking, Tsunade left here. As he watched Gangsho leave, Dahong's face darkened almost at a visible speed to the naked eye. Take good care of Shoshi. Turning back and saying to his 2 children, Dahong left here. This matter requires an explanation from the Hinata family. Is Shoshi set aside the ancestral family? His parents are 2 ancestral families of the Hinata clan. The upper ninja of the Zone family. As the head of the clan, Hinata Dahong is definitely responsible for this matter. The next morning, Yujibwa Meichin, who was completely unaware of the hospital situation, walked towards the place where she met Shoshi yesterday with a hopeful heart. Will he come? His parents probably haven't returned yet, have they? If he had come, he wouldn't have been defeated so easily this time. Meichin thought with longing. Although the time spent with Shoshi was not very long, overnight, Meichin began to look forward to meeting Shoshi. This mood persisted until Meichin saw the empty forest. Sigh. Although it was clear in her heart that Shoshi might not come, at this moment, Meichin's heart inevitably felt a slight sense of disappointment. That guy must still be sleeping, right? Suddenly, Meichin thought of what Shoshi had said to her. I've been staring blankly for a long time, it's just that I didn't tell my parents. So, that guy must be at home and hasn't woken up yet. Humph. What a cunning guy. However, this method seems to be quite good. Unconsciously, a smile appeared at the corner of Meichin's mouth. My hospital. Hinata daisies. Don't you know how to salute even when you see the Zone family? The sound outside the ward gradually brought back the consciousness of the repairman. Rizu, this guy licking his cracked lips, Shoshi closed his eyes. It really hurts, but fortunately, he is still alive. So. No matter who hit me, there's no doubt that he got into trouble. See if I'm mistaken, then you're done. Hinata Daisy, pay respects to Hinata Higashi. As the sound outside the door sounded, the door of the ward was also pushed open. Do you know how to salute even when you see the Zone family? With some difficulty, the cultivator turned his head and his gaze skipped over Hinata, looking at Hinata. Hinata pays respects to Master Shoshi. Hinata glanced at her own brother with some helplessness upon hearing this, but still bowed respectfully to Hinata Master. Standing at the entrance of the ward, Hinata Daisy couldn't help but flash a slight smile in her eyes. Oh! Isn't this the most outstanding genius of our Hinata clan? Why can't we even stand up now? Biting lightly on her lower lip, Hinata's face twitched uncontrollably twice. Then, carrying her hands behind her back, she approached Hinata Shoshi and looked down at him lying on the hospital bed, asking in a strange and sinister manner. The most outstanding genius of the Hinata clan is a bit tired now. Upon hearing this, Hinata Master gave Hinata a slanted glance and emphasized the most outstanding genius of the Hinata clan. Speaking of which, there is really a personal grudge between Shoshi and Rizu. And this starts with the title of the most outstanding genius of the Hinata clan. This name is not self-proclaimed by the cultivator, but recognized by all members of the family. And the reason why it is recognized by all members of the family is because there are competitions within the Hinata clan aimed at children before entering ninja school. Shio-si refers to it as a preschool competition. At the beginning of the competition, Shio-si and Ri-zu were both geniuses of the Hinata clan, and both of them were proficient in using the Hinata clan's soft fists. This led to a problem where it was all taught by a master and couldn't be solved. But unlike the Japanese zodiac, the cultivator also has the inheritance of a Qigong Master. In the inheritance of Qigong Masters, there is a skill that is not very advanced. Throw sand. And the highly anticipated genius of the Hinata clan, Hinata, the son of the head of the ancestral family, suffered a disastrous defeat in a handful of yellow soil under the deliberate flaw revealed by the cultivator. Since then, the feud between the two has begun. Tired. As the most outstanding genius of the Hinata clan, I was unexpectedly bumped into the hospital by a ninja. It's really embarrassing. Hinata gave a contemptuous smile upon hearing this, slowly straightened his waist, but his gaze remained firmly fixed on the cultivator's body. The sun is full and full. Upon hearing this, Shio-si silently looked at the Hinata in front of him. How about it? Upon hearing this, Hinata's chin slightly lifted and he looked down at Hinata Shuji on the hospital bed. I just got a little injured, it's not like I can never get out of bed. Silently looking at Hinata in front of him, Shio-si said calmly. It has to be said that Hinata knows how to take advantage of the situation, and these words are really infuriating. Humph. Let's wait until you get out of bed. Upon hearing the words, Ri-zu let out a soft snort, turned around, carried his hands behind his back, and Shiren left. Lord Gungate said, you may not be able to be a ninja anymore. After leaving, Daisy came to Shio-si's side. There was no expression on the calm face. Is it so serious? Upon hearing this, Shio-si was taken aback and looked at the Hinata Daisy in front of him in surprise. I hope it's not that serious. I still need to defeat you to prove that I am more suitable for the sect. Hinata Daisy glanced at Hinata Cultivator and said indifferently. Ah. But if you defeat me, wouldn't that prove even more that choosing you as the family split is the most correct choice? Upon hearing this, Shio-si blinked and asked the Hinata Daisy in front of him. It's really causing this to die again. Hello, rest well. The Daisy's lips twitched slightly upon hearing this, and in the end, she could only shake off one sentence. After speaking, Daisy turned around and left the ward. Shio-si is right, the mission of dividing families is to protect the ancestral family. So, logically speaking, it is not a problem for people with strong abilities to be more suitable for separation. And the fact is indeed like this. After all, a ninja's talent is not determined by birth order. Therefore, the relatively large base of the separation theory is completely stronger than the ancestral family. However, the Zone family is not willing to admit this fact. Even in order to change this fact, a knowledge monopoly was implemented on the separation of families. Hello, can you call the person who hit me, Xia Ren? I want to see him. Watching Daisy leave behind, Shio-si asked Daisy. Got it. Daisy didn't look back at the words and quickly disappeared into Shio-si's ward. Is it water? Brothers. End of this chapter. Chapter 5, Steel Tendons and Iron Bones and 8 Gates of Escaping Armor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5, Steel Tendons and Iron Bones and 8 Gates of Escaping Armor. Watching the Hinata Daisy's figure gradually disappear, Shio-si slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Is the world of tolerance dangerous? Of course it's dangerous. However, even in the realm of ninja, no matter how dangerous it is, it cannot burn down a 5-year-old Hinata clan living in Kiba. In Shio-si's vision, until graduating from ninja school, he was safe and could confidently improve his strength. But what Xiao Si didn't expect was that he was unexpectedly bumped into the My Hospital. Sure enough, no one knows which one will come first, tomorrow or the accident. Closing his eyes, Xiao Si sensed the spiritual energy inside his body. Hey! Where am I feeling angry? Xiao Si opened his eyes in surprise and his heart instantly lifted. Quickly closing his eyes again, Xiao Si finally breathed a sigh of relief when he felt the wandering breath in the air again. So, is the mental energy in the body depleted due to repairing one's own body? In that case, mindfulness can completely repair the body. Concentrated, the cultivator began to guide the wandering mindfulness in the air to repair his own body. Why do you keep having trouble with Xiao Si? On the way, Hinata asked her brother. Seeing him makes me angry. Upon hearing this, Rizu said with a tight expression on his face. Just hearing the name of the cultivator made Rizu a little angry. When I think of Xiao Si, the Japanese football team thinks of the yellow soil on the field. It's really upon hearing this, Ri-cha pursed his lips and remained silent. Ri-cha never expected that Xiao Si's throwing of sand would cause such great damage to Rizu. Since seeing him makes me angry, why go to the hospital to see him again? For a long time, Hinata continued to ask Hinata. It doesn't matter if there's any conflict between Rizu and Xiao Si, but it's too much to involve oneself, right? Being targeted by one sect every day, which branch can tolerate it? Because I'm worried about his injury. Upon hearing this, Rizu glanced at his younger brother, pursed his lips, and silently said. If possible, I hope he can walk out of the hospital unscathed. With his hands behind his back, Hinata walked towards the Hinata tribe and spoke as he walked. Once, he could defeat me with a handful of lus, but in the future, he can defeat Hinata's enemies with a handful of lus, right? A genius should not be invalidated by such a thing, and a family also needs a genius. Wow! The sound of iron chains colliding with each other caused the cultivator to break free from his state of cultivation. Opening his eyes, the abbot happened to see the ward keeper who had opened the door and entered first. The people from Kiba prison. Immediately, the abbot saw the middle-aged version of Metki, who was coming in with the guards of the Kiba prison, with a central comb and a beard. Is this Mat Day? This is the one who crashed you into the hospital, Xia Ren. Hinata Daisy arrived at Xiao Si's side, holding a bento box in her hand. Lord Dehong said that this person will be temporarily detained until you wake up. After you wake up, it is up to you to decide how to handle this matter. Daisy pulled over a stool and handed the chicken soup from the bento box to Xiao Si's mouth. Can I handle it? After drinking the chicken soup offered by the Daisy, Xiao Si asked the Daisy. Well, according to the regulations of the Kiba Public Security Management Law, you can choose to hold Maite Dai accountable for this incident. Based on the extent of your current injury and the intentions of Lord Dehong, Maite Dai should never be able to leave for a lifetime. Of course, if you choose to forgive him, there is no problem. Daisy nodded at the words and said to Xiao Si. As Daisy's words fell, Xiao Si was fine, and Maite Dai knelt down for Xiao Si in an instant. I am truly sorry for causing such a thing, but I hope you can forgive me once no matter what. My child has just been born and he still needs my care. I hope you can consider it carefully. Daisy, help this gentleman up. Xiao Si said to Daisy. Mat Dai, Xiao Si immediately thought of the 8 Duanjia. Thinking of Ba Men Dun Jia, Xiao Si suddenly thought of Nian Qi and steel tendons and bones. Steel tendons and iron bones. Unlike the bonus points in the game, there are only 9 levels of steel tendons and iron bones in the inheritance accepted by the cultivator. And these 9 realms each have 9 different paths for the movement of mindfulness. At present, Xiao Si really needs to compare the 8 gates of Duanjia. After all, my own body was born in the realm of ninja, not in the virtual ancestor. There is no chakra in the body of Su Zuran, but there is in the body of Xiao Si. If, during the later practice of steel tendons and iron bones, one finally managed to break through and eventually broke through a acupoint, causing a large number of chakras to burst out of the body, the consequences would be very exciting. Don't worry, I won't let you go to jail. Xiao-Si looked at Maite Dai squatting down next to his hospital bed and said. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will bear all your medical expenses. Maite Dai was taken aback at the words, and an indescribable joy rose from his heart. Fortunately, excited, I breathed a deep sigh of relief. Do you think a Hinata clan would be short of money? Upon hearing this, Xiao-Si looked silently at Maite Dai in front of him and asked. Xiao-Si is not prepared to take the route of building a good relationship with Maite Dai to obtain the 8 gates Duanjia. That's really too slow. As for the relationship with Mat Day, is that important? Not important. What is the point of having a good relationship with Met Dai or Met Kai? Ah. What do you mean? Upon hearing this, Maite Dai was taken aback and looked at Master Hinata in front of him with some confusion. I am curious about how Xiaoren managed to knock pedestrians off the road. Upon hearing this, Xiao-Si asked Maite Dai. So, you should have a weight on your body, right? Mat Dai was taken aback by the words, but he didn't deny it either. Are you practicing any physical techniques? Upon hearing this, Xiao-Si continued to ask Maite Dai. It's a physical exercise, but the difficulty of learning is very high. By this point, even a fool like Maitra understood what Xiao-Si meant. Hand over the 8 gates of Duanjia to someone else, and Maite Dai doesn't mind. Maite Dai just feels that technique may not be very suitable for people of the Hinata clan to learn. I'm not afraid it's difficult to learn, but I'm afraid it's useless. Give me that skill and let it go. How about that? Sitting under a tree, Mei-Chin reached out and wiped the sweat off her face, watching the gradually fading sky in silence. For a long time, Mei-Chin slowly stood up and walked towards the direction of home. End of this chapter. Chapter 6, Take a longer time and learn solidly. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6, Take a longer time and learn solidly. This is the open door, the closed door, the Du Men. In the ward, Daisy held a scroll that recorded the location of the 8 gates escaping armor and kept tapping on Xiao-Si's body, in order to let Xiao-Si know the location of the 8 gates escaping armor. You can't practice now, why are you so anxious to know these things? After informing Xiao-Si of the location of the 8 gates, Daisy puzzled and asked Xiao-Si. I paid for it with my life, of course I'm in a hurry. Upon hearing this, Xiao-Si closed his eyes and concealed the helplessness in his eyes. On the other hand, he said lightly. Sure enough, there is a conflict between the 8 gates Duanjia and the steel tendons and iron bones. I should have thought of it long ago. The principle of Ba Men Dun Jia is to open up the meridians inside the ninja that suppress chakra. The principle of steel tendons and iron bones is to open up the meridians in the body that inhibit the flow of thoughts and qi. It is very normal for these meridians to overlap. The most headache-inducing issue for cultivators is that the 8 gates Duanjia starts from the opening of the head door and the rest door. And steel tendons and iron bones start from Jingmen, which is closest to Dantian. This leads to the fact that if a cultivator wants to cultivate steel tendons and iron bones, they must cultivate the 8 gates of Duanjia to the 7th gate, feel the chakra that erupts after the 7th gate is opened, and whether their body can continue to endure it. After all, in the practice of steel tendons and iron bones, if this vein is opened, it cannot be closed. If you can handle it, then you're amazing. Conservatively, one kick can kill 2 dried persimmon ghost sharks. If you can't bear it, then prepare for the aftermath. Of course, if you want to, it's not impossible to kick Jitsuan Tuanzang before death. It's just not necessary. So the price you're selling your life for should be a loss. Daisy picked up the scroll and put it into her arms, saying to Xiao-Si. This technique is almost at the opposite end of the Hinata family's soft fist, perhaps there is still a need to learn only by opening and closing the door. Shoshi nodded upon hearing the words, and Daisy was right. Although the effect of the 8 gates Duanjia is the upper limit of improving physical fitness. In theory, it should be applicable to all physical arts. But the most crucial thing is that it is almost impossible to control the chakra that erupts from the 8 gates Duanjia. Unless you have been in a state of 8 gates Duanjia for a long enough time to tame those chakras. Steel tendons and iron bones can do it, but sigh. Forget it, if it takes longer, let's keep it going. If it takes longer, I will learn solidly, so are you studying? After speaking, Shoshi looked at the Daisy. Learn, why not learn? Daisy was taken aback at the words and said without any hesitation. Disdain leads to disdain, and one should still learn what to learn. Even though Ba Men Dun Jia cannot be used together with Ro Quan, Ba Men Dun Jia itself is not weaker than Ro Quan. The reason why Daisy despises him more is that he despises Shoshi. Oh, don't let outsiders learn. Upon hearing this, Shoshi nodded and slowly closed his eyes. Got it. Daisy nodded at the words and didn't leave, sitting nearby by Shoshi's hospital bed. To ensure that Shoshi is available if needed. Shoshi closed his eyes and began to slowly absorb the free mindfulness in the air, following the route of the first layer of steel tendons and iron bones to enhance his physical fitness. Even without the presence of chakra, once the veins that suppress the flow of mind energy in the body are opened, a powerful force will erupt. The initial operation route of steel tendons and iron bones is designed to improve physical fitness to a level sufficient to carry this part of the strength. After all the veins that inhibit the flow of mind energy in the body are opened up, after a certain period of practice to master the mind energy in the body, the effect is similar to the forbidden techniques in mind energy inheritance, such as mind energy tattoos. At that time, the Qigong Master could also be called the Mad Tiger Emperor. That is to say, the first layer of steel tendons and iron bones can continuously enhance the body's strength, which is a technique that can continue to be practiced even when practicing as a returning Yuan Qigong Master. So, if you spend more time practicing steel tendons and iron bones, you can really learn more solidly. Time slowly passed like this, until 2 months later. Gangsho, is Shoshi's current situation okay? In the exclusive office of Gungute in the My Hospital, Shoshi's mother, Rishiang Qianxue, walked in with some gifts. At present, the recovery is very good. Shoshi's body is recovering at a visible speed every day, which will not affect the child's future ninja career. Upon hearing this, Gangsho put down his work and looked towards Hinata Qianxia. Teacher Qianxia, did you just come back from completing the task? As the words fell, Gangsho's mouth smiled and asked Hinata Qianxia. As a member of the Hinata Clan, Hinata Qianxia once went out on a mission as the leader of a team with Tsunade Sanmin. Ah! An S-level task with no difficulty, just arrived at the village at noon today. Qianxia chuckled lightly upon hearing the words and started chatting with Gangsho. With Qianxia's strength, there is definitely no problem, and Shoshi is also very good. To be honest, I never expected him to recover to the current level. It can be said to be a miracle in medicine. Upon hearing this, Gangsho nodded and understood that Qianxia must be very eager to visit Shoshi now, so he brought the topic back to Shoshi. This is still Gangsho's medical skills. If it were other medical ninjas, it's not certain if we could still see Shoshi when we come back. Qianxia shook her head upon hearing this and reached out to pat Gangsho's hand. A teacher is a teacher who speaks so well. Gangsho chuckled lightly at the words and said to Qianxia. Qianxia laughed with her words. However, the child's injuries are indeed very serious, and some internal injuries still need to be recuperated. At least before entering ninja school, do not practice anymore. The smile on Gangsho's face gradually disappeared, and he said seriously to Hinata Qianxia. Gangsho, who also came from the big family, naturally understands the training intensity of each major ninja clan for their own descendants. Therefore, Gangsho said to Hinata Qianxia. Well, I will pay attention. Upon hearing this, Qianxia nodded and stood up. Since she had a certain understanding of Xiuxi's intelligence, Qianxia was ready to go and see Xiuxi. Well, if there's nothing to do now, you can be discharged. Just go back to the hospital for regular checkups. Upon hearing this, Gangzhou nodded and said to Qianxia. Okay, come and have dinner at home when you have time. I'll thank you very much. Qianxia said to Gangzhou, and then the two smiled at each other before leaving Gangzhou's office. And that is to say, when the door to Gengdate's office was closed, the smile on Qianxia's face instantly disappeared. Without any hesitation, Hinata Qianxia strode towards Xiuxi's ward with great strides. Hinata Xiuxi. You're quite impressive. At that moment, Xiuxi was extremely scared as he watched Hinata Qianxia kick open the door of the sick room and come in front of him. I'm blinded. This chapter will briefly transition to explain the relationship between steel tendons and iron bones and the 8 gates Dunjia, as well as the importance of combat power. Personally, I think this is quite reasonable. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Won't anyone be 5 years old and haven't opened their eyes yet? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Won't anyone be 5 years old and haven't opened their eyes yet? In the early morning, Xiuxi's father, Hinata Qingding, was guiding Daisy to gossip at the dojo at home. Qingding returned to my last night and started guiding Daisy's practice early this morning. For this family of 4, only Daisy is in a separate family. Daisy not only did not get neglected, but also received special attention from her family. Actually, in the beginning, Hinata Kayasada and Hinata Qianxia wanted to have only one child. In that case, some of the rules of the Hinata family would be meaningless to this family. But if Hinata Qianxia becomes pregnant, she will become twins and there is no other way. What else can we still do? Oh, where's the practice? Come on. Just as Hinata Daisy was sweating profusely while playing gossip palms, Hinata Master's lazy voice suddenly sounded. Hinata Daisy looked up and happened to see the Xiuxi holding a bunch of gifts in both hands. This guy must have been intentional. If Xiuxi goes out, he doesn't need to go through the dojo at all. What's going on? Are you okay with the injury? Do you want to come together? Hinata Qingding looked at Xiuxi with some helplessness upon hearing this, turned his hands back, and asked softly. Xiuxi, this child has good talent and is willing to work hard. It's just this personality, this chest still hurts. Upon hearing this, Xiuxi was immediately amused and slowly left the dojo while speaking. Strolling through the land of the Hinata clan, Xiuxi walked towards the home of Hinata clan leader Hinata Dehong. You're about to go to ninja school. Haven't you opened your eyes yet? Before knocking on the door, Master Hinata heard the hysterical roar of Hinata Dehong in the courtyard. Dong dong dong. Xiuxi raised his eyebrows lightly and knocked on the door of Hinata Dehong's house with a smile. Oh, haven't Hinata and Hinata yet opened their white eyes? That's really great. Is Xiuxi here? How is your body recovering? The door was opened, and Hinata Dehong, with a gentle smile on his face, looked a bit kind. Well, my body is much better now. Thanks to your care, uncle, before. Upon hearing this, Xiuxi bowed to Hinata Dehong. They are all family members, there's no need to be so polite. Dehong chuckled lightly upon seeing this and opened the door to help Xiuxi up. Has Qianxia and Qingding all returned? On the way to the living room, Dehong asked Xiuxi. Well, I returned to the village yesterday and today I have to report my mission to Huiying. However, my uncle was busy working for me in the hospital before. Now that I'm discharged from the hospital, I just wanted to visit and hope I didn't disturb you. Upon hearing this, Xiuxi chuckled lightly and said, in this world of ninja, besides fighting and killing, there are also human relationships and worldly wisdom. The reason why there is such a form of group among the ninja tribe is due to their existence. The most intuitive thing is that since the Shosi is from the Hinata clan, there is no need to worry about the pressure in the village. The Hinata family is truly cruel to dividing families, but it is also truly good to the clan. Well, born into a family, I am very lucky. Have you grown up? Shosi. Dahong chuckled lightly at the words and patted Shosi's shoulder. Go and call for the day's foot and day's difference. Arriving at the entrance of the living room, Dahong said to the maid at the door. Yes. After bowing at the words, the maid turned around and left here. Will this injury have any impact on your future cultivation? Sitting in the living room without Dahong speaking, a maid brought desserts and black tea. Master Tsunade said to try not to practice before entering ninja school, and there should be no more problems afterwards. Upon hearing this, Shio-si said to Dahong, saying it would be 2 months, but in reality, there was no need to rest for so long. After 2 months of accumulation in the hospital, Shio-si's mental energy has begun to take shape. This also led to a sufficient improvement in the efficiency of the cultivator's practice of steel tendons and iron bones. Shio-si feels that at most 1 month, he can start practicing physical skills. Although steel tendons and iron bones themselves can enhance the upper limit of a cultivator's physical fitness. However, that would be too slow. The most efficient way of cultivation is to focus on physical techniques and supplement it with steel tendons and iron bones. Don't rush to practice, your talent has been proven. Cultivate well and don't affect your future. Dahong nodded at the words and said to Shio-si. Well, I will pay attention to my body. Upon hearing this, Shio-si nodded and said to Dahong. By the way, I heard you took a ninjutsu from Mat Dai about that before. Sitting on the main seat, Dahong took a sip of black tea and asked Shio-si. That's right, it's a physical art. Upon hearing this, Shio-si nodded and was not surprised that Dahong knew about it. Is Rochuan not enough for your cultivation? Dahong smiled helplessly upon hearing this and asked Shio-si in reverse. This can be said to be a confidence ingrained in the bones. In Dahong's view, there are only 3 types of ninjutsu in the world of ninja. One is called Rochuan, one is called lay-done armor, and the other is called other ninjutsu. That's right, isn't soft fist enough for you to practice? Have you opened your eyes yet? Surprisingly, you still have time to practice other body techniques. Just as Dahong finished speaking, Hinata Higashi and Hinata Higashi happened to arrive here. Day by day, pay respects to Master Shio. As the words of the sunset fell, the sound of the sunset began to sound. Following his own brother and encountering Hinata cultivator, Hinata felt that it was better for him to take the initiative. Don't be too polite. Upon seeing this, Shio-si was immediately delighted, but for the time being, he ignored Rizu and stood up to speak to Ri-cha. Brother Rizu is right. Rochuan is broad and profound, and there are many things I need to learn and master. Especially now, as I have just started my white eyes, I still don't know much about Huitian. Brother Rizu should have started his white eyes long ago, right? I don't know if you have time to teach me sitting down again. The cultivator smiled and asked Rizu, his face full of humbly seeking advice. Ha! Have you opened your eyes? Rizu was taken aback at the words, and his facial features began to contort with a slight amplitude. Ah! Didn't Rizu brother open his white eyes? No, how could someone be 5 years old and haven't opened their white eyes yet? Upon hearing this, Shio-si was taken aback and pretended to be puzzled, then asked Rizu. This time, not only did the sun set, but even the expression of the sun's difference began to become distorted. What happened when I didn't open my eyes at the age of 5? What's going on? Dahong chuckled lightly upon seeing this, without any intention of speaking. As a child, Rizu has a natural talent, but he is not working hard enough. It's good to have the repairman give him some pressure now. I must have opened it. Oh my God, when your body recovers, I will teach you. Upon hearing this, Rizu casually found a place to sit down and spoke to the cultivator, as if to make his words more credible. I just didn't expect you to open your eyes so quickly, that's not bad. If you have any opinions, please feel free to leave a message. End of this chapter. Chapter 8, Parents Pave the Way. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8, Parents Pave the Way. Can he participate in the family internal competition before the start of ninja school? After seeing off Master Hinata, Hinata nervously asked Hinata Dahong. I should be able to participate. Lord Gungute means that cultivators are not recommended to practice before the start of ninja school. Dahong held his cheek with one hand upon hearing this and said to Rizu with a smile on his face. A month, open your eyes. As the words fell, the son trotted out of the living room. If Xiao-Si really participated in the competition, he wouldn't even turn a blind eye when he said goodbye. Just commit seppuku and commit suicide. Ri Cha looked at Rizu, then at Dahong, pursed his lips, and followed suit. Isn't it just 5 years old with white eyes? There are still several months until our 6th birthday. Watching the disappearance of his 2 children, Dahong's face couldn't help but smile. This is much more useful than a fight. Not to mention what the day shift and day shift are doing, the Shosi family held a small family meeting today. Ninjutsu type, physique type, hallucination type, seal ninja, and medical ninja, that's all. What kind of ninja do you want to become? Hinata Qingding knelt aside and asked the abbot and Daisy. After all, before going to ninja school, Qingding and Qianxia want their children to have a basic understanding of ninjas. Although the inheritance of the Hinata clan almost destined that every Hinata clan member was suitable for the development of physical arts. However, Qingding and Qianxia also do not oppose children developing towards their own interests. Sometimes, interests and talents are more important than inheritance. As the upper ninja of the Hinata clan, Qingding and Qianxia have sufficient abilities to help their children achieve certain accomplishments in their favorite fields. I want to become a medical ninja. Upon hearing this, Xiao-Si said to Hinata Qingding without any hesitation. This is the general direction that Xiao-Si has set for a long time. Where's the daisy? Upon hearing this, Qingding nodded and did not ask for the reason. Qingding had already explained in detail the various types of ninjas. Xiao-Si must have thought about this matter a long time ago if he could make such a quick choice. Qingding chooses to respect Xiao-Si's choices. I choose a physical ninja. After pondering for a moment, Daisy said to Qingding. In Daisy's view, the Hinata family has ready-made body techniques for cultivation, and there is no need to distract oneself from developing in other directions. Or, to put it another way, Daisy doesn't plan to learn any other techniques until she has mastered Rochuan enough. If you want to become a medical ninja, I will bring you some medical books tomorrow. Seeing that both children had made a choice, Qian Shaduan said to Master Hinata. It doesn't matter if you want to become a medical ninja, but one thing is that you can't let go of the practice of Rochuan. Before graduating from ninja school, I need you to learn Rochuan 228 Palm, Hui Tian, and Palm Fairy. After speaking, Qianxia continued to speak to Xiao-Si. Qianxia doesn't know if Xiao-Si can achieve this step, but let's put forward the requirements first. What if we do? Okay, besides that, I'm also planning to cultivate the 8 gates of Duanjia and open the 7th gate. Upon hearing this, Xiao-Si nodded solemnly towards Hinata Qianxia. As the words fell, Xiao-Si seemed to have thought of something and continued speaking to Qianxia. In addition, I also need to complete the changes in the nature of Lei Dun and Feng Dun, and integrate them into Soft Fist. Are you joking with me? Upon hearing this, Hinata Qianxia's eyebrows twitched uncontrollably and asked Hinata Xiao-Si in front of her. The demands she made were already difficult to fulfill, and what the cultivator said didn't seem like words that a sane person could say. The cultivation day of Ba Men Dun Jia, Xiang Qianxia, has never practiced before and has no say in this matter. However, incorporating the changes in the nature of chakra into Rochuan, the previous one was called Hinata Tenjin. Don't think this is too simple, you should know that just condensing Raidun chakra in the palm of your hand is already known as S.level ninjutsu. At present, the ninja world's control over chakra has not yet reached the level imagined. Is it because Bo Fengshui didn't integrate the changes in chakra's properties into the spiral pill before he died, because he didn't want to do that? Or did he, as a developer of the spiral pill, never think about this direction? You're joking with me first. Upon hearing this, Shoshi was immediately delighted and quickly stood up, running towards his own room. This little ghost. Qianxia looked at the gradually disappearing figure of Rishiang Shoshi and muttered helplessly. The day after tomorrow, I will invite Gungate to my home as a guest. Her medical ninjutsu is widely recognized as the #1 in the world of all ninjas. Helpless, Qianxia shouted loudly to the Hinata cultivator. Since Shoshi wants to become a medical ninja, as a mother, Qianxia will naturally do her best to pave the way for her child. Moreover, Qianxia also thinks that becoming a medical ninja is quite good. At its most basic level, in a ninja team, medical ninjas are often the ones that are heavily protected. In addition, the blood inheritance of the Hinata clan's boundless white eyes makes them naturally the best reconnaissance-type ninjas. As long as Shoshi can learn soft boxing step by step, basic safety can be fully guaranteed. Got it. Upon hearing this, Shoshi agreed without looking back and returned to his room. This is the resource. If it's a child from a commoner's family, let alone invite Gangsho to be a guest at home. Maybe you don't even know how to extract chakra now, do you? It is estimated that under the supervision of parents, there is no brain for physical training. So, why haven't ninjas opened a preschool tutoring class in Kiba? Thinking of this, Shoshi suddenly felt happy, but without careful consideration, he lay in bed and began to accumulate his mental energy. It's been 2 months. Yuzhibo Meichin stood at the place where he met Shoshi that day, silently looking at the shimmering lake in front of him. My hands slowly imprinted, and Meichin took a deep breath slowly. At the next moment, Meichin suddenly spat out a fiery flame from her mouth. Fire escape. The art of Heiō Wokyu. The blazing flames met the cold lake water, carrying a large amount of water vapor. For a long time, the flames extinguished, and by the misty lake, a pair of crimson eyes faintly appeared. Am I just so disliked by people? Turning silently, Meichin walked slowly but firmly towards the land of the Uchiha tribe. Since today, Meichin has never been to this place again. Sometimes, what truly impresses people is not their initial liking, but their unwillingness to give themselves. After waiting for a full 2 months, Meichin has already received the answer she believes is correct. End of this chapter. Chapter 9, Soft Fist and Monster Power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9, Soft Fist and Monster Power. Qianxia and Qingding did not directly invite Gumgata, but visited Hinata Dehong before that. The next day, they invited Gumgata to their home as a guest. Not a very sumptuous dish was placed on the table, accompanied by Hinata Kyoto and his family, to entertain Tsunade and his brother Chisho Shoki. Shoshi's physique is really rare. If it weren't for having a pair of white eyes, would have thought Shoshi was a child of our thousand-handed clan. At the dinner table, Gangsho drank the sake from his glass in one gulp. I dare not say that, Lord Gumgate. Upon seeing this, Shoshi stood up and poured the wine full for Gangsho. Upon hearing this, Gangsho raised his eyebrows lightly and looked towards Hinata cultivator. After you finish speaking, my parents still have to fight. Sitting back down, Shoshi chuckled and said to Gangsho. After the words fell, everyone burst into laughter. Gangsho, my son wants to become a medical ninja. As the conversation continued, Qianxia held her cheeks with one hand and said to Gangsho with a hint of drunkenness flowing through her beautiful eyes. Oh. Let's start with the basics. After entering ninja school, we need to focus on practicing chakra control. Once we meet the requirements, you can come to Kiba Hospital to learn cactus skills from me. Upon hearing this, Gungate did not hesitate to provide a short-term development plan. On the one hand, there is a relationship with Qianxia, and on the other hand, the Hinata clan is indeed very suitable for becoming medical ninjas. Most medical ninjas rely on instruments or experience to assist in the treatment of injured individuals. But the white eyes of the Hinata clan can directly see through. So, giving the repairman a direction is not a problem at all. Don't you? Thank you, Teacher Gangsho. Upon hearing this, Hinata Qianxia immediately patted the back of Shosi and said to him. Thank you, Teacher Gangsho. Upon hearing this, Shosi stood up without any hesitation and bowed to Gangsho, saying. Sit down. Gangsho blinked at the words and waved his hand towards Shosi. Based on your current physical condition, you can start practicing to a certain extent in about half a month. With a positive expression, Gangsho sat up straight and said to Shosi. It was not until now that Gangsho realized that Qianxia wanted his child to become his disciple. Gangsho didn't mean to refuse either. After all, the relationship between Gangsho and Qianxia is really good. However, since you want to be your own disciple, what you need to learn is not limited to medical ninjutsu. If you want to learn, you can come to Qianxia's house in half a month to learn monster power from me. I will definitely go. Shosi said without any hesitation upon hearing the words. Strange power, although its external manifestation is the sudden burst of powerful force, looks like a punch. But in reality, the supernatural power itself is a derivative technique of chakra's control power. Focusing chakra on a single point for explosion has many similarities with the acupoint tapping technique of Rochuan. To be honest, if practiced well, the acupoints and strange powers of Rochuan can be completely achieved. Pointing them out can harm both muscles and bones as well as internal organs. Without this opportunity, it's okay. With this opportunity now, Shosi naturally won't give up. Upon hearing the words, Gangsho smiled lightly and nodded. As of now, Gangsho's senses towards Shosi are still very good. Shosi Juan. After the matter of Shosi becoming a disciple of Gangsho was settled, Shingshu, who had never spoken before, suddenly said to Shosi. What's wrong? Upon hearing this, Shosi was taken aback and looked towards Qianxiu rope tree. I have heard of Hinata's Rochuan before. May I know if it's convenient for you to communicate with me about body techniques now? Upon hearing this, Shingshu said to Shosi, with a hint of longing in his eyes. Children from peaceful families are different. Some children born into the Danin family often know more. We will also pay more attention to some opportunities. It's like the Uchiha Meichin from before, like the Qianxiu rope tree from now on. They are all eager to compete with talented peers, so that they can not only have a better understanding of themselves, more able to find one's own shortcomings in practical combat. Shosi has just been discharged from the hospital. How can I communicate with you about physical surgery? As Shingshu's words fell, before Shosi could say anything, Gangsho slapped Shingshu's head directly. Hey, it's okay. Qianxia saw this and immediately said to Gangsho. If Shingshu wants to experience Rochuan, although Shosi is not convenient now, daisies are still possible. Thank you so much. Upon hearing this, Shingshu immediately stood up and bowed to Qianxia. It is obvious that the young chieftain of this thousand-handed clan has a very good grasp of etiquette. Then let's go to the dojo. Qingding nodded at this and asked Gangsho. Okay. As soon as they said goodbye, a group of 6 arrived at the dojo in a grand manner, with the cultivator, Daisy, and Rope Tree carrying some dishes and drinks at the back. Please give me more guidance. On the dojo, the Rope Tree first bowed to the Daisy, and then formed a seal of opposition. Please give me more guidance. Upon seeing this, the Daisy first bowed back and then made a soft fist gesture. Daisy is not averse to fighting against the rope tree, not just Daisy. Everyone is well aware that in the future, it is inevitable to fight against many ninjas with strange and bizarre ninjutsu skills. Being able to find one's own shortcomings through practical combat in an absolutely safe environment at a young age. This is a very fortunate thing, isn't it? Teacher. Just as Daisy and Rope Tree were fighting, Xiao-Si had already leaned over to Gangsho, poured him a glass of wine, and handed it to him. Well, when parents pave the way, it still depends on oneself. I estimate that for a long time in the future, I will have to work under the command of Tsunade. Be diligent, it's definitely right. You're very sensible, kid. Upon hearing this, Gangsho chuckled and glanced at Xiao-Si. After holding the wine glass, he watched the confrontation between Daisy and Xingshu while sipping the wine. It's really amazing. It's been a long time since I've had such a good sake. Although she is the princess of the Chisho family and the top medical ninja at the Kiba hospital. Even if Gangsho doesn't do tasks, his monthly income is very substantial. However, Tsunade, who has been wandering around the Kiba casino for years, has no money. There is no money at all. And Xiao-Si was also watching the clash between the rope tree and the daisy. To be honest, Qianshou fluid technique can be said to be one of the most representative schools of Gangquan. Some moves showcase the advantages of Qian's Hujia to the fullest. Relatively speaking, Daisy's soft fists appear much worse. The reason is simple. The most powerful aspect of Rochuan is acupoint tapping, but the Daisy who has not yet opened her eyes cannot fully utilize the advantages of Rochuan. In one sentence, Daisy's soft fist belongs to the invalid soft fist. Therefore, the defeat of Daisy's became natural. Is anyone there? End of this chapter. Chapter 10, This is Soft Fist. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10, This is Soft Fist. For half a month, Qianxia and Qingding never went out to do any more tasks. Along with the cultivator, they never took another step towards the land of the Hinata tribe. The Met Day incident ultimately had some impact on the abbot. During this half-month period, Xiao-Si has been accumulating mental energy at home. And the changes in the body over the past half-month have also confirmed Xiao-Si's conjecture. After the body is damaged, using mindfulness for repair can indeed improve the upper limit of physical fitness to a certain extent. So, focusing on physical cultivation and supplementing with mental energy cultivation is indeed the most efficient method of cultivation. In this situation where one is not tired but can feel their own progress every day, time passes very quickly. Half a month passed by in a flash, and the figure of the cultivator also appeared at the entrance of the Tsunade family in the territory of the Chiba clan. Dong dong dong. Xiao-Si. With the sound of the door being opened, the first thing that caught the eye was the face of Xingshu, which resembled Naruto. Seriously, except for the hair color, the rope tree and Naruto are almost the same. Well, I'm here today to learn about monster power from Lord Gangsho. Upon hearing this, Xiao-Si's face immediately showed a sunny and cheerful smile. As he spoke, he also picked up the gift in his hand. A whole 10 pounds of top-quality sake. The price of these 10 pounds of sake is enough for a family of 3 to live carefree in Mai for a year. And this money doesn't even need to be given by the parents of the repairman. Just relying on the allowance given by the Hinata family to the cultivator is enough to buy these things. At the age of 5, starting a white eye is a subsidy. Before entering the family ninja school, the top 3 players in the internal competition of the family have a substantial subsidy. At the age of 5, Xiao-Si opened his eyes and won 2 consecutive championships in preschool competitions. The monthly allowance is roughly equivalent to the income earned by a hardworking wooden leaf for a month's task. And these money, before being distributed by the family, was intended to allow the geniuses of the Hinata clan to join the team after graduating from ninja school and have enough money to give gifts to Ueno teacher. Then come with me. Upon hearing this, Shingshu chuckled lightly and waved to Shiosi, then turned around and walked into the courtyard. Upon seeing this, Shiosi first closed the door and then followed the rope tree to meet Gangsho. Shiosi is here. What is this with you? In the room, Gangsho was drinking black tea without any taste or taste. Wine, Gangsho definitely can't afford it. Even this black tea is only available for Gangsho to drink because Lord Mito is still alive. I heard from my mother that you like sake, so I brought you some. Upon hearing this, Shiosi placed the sake in his hand on one side of the room. Really, just come and come. What other gifts do you bring? Upon hearing this, a flash of light flashed through Gangsho's eyes, but after all, it was his first time meeting Shiosi alone, and Gangsho managed to maintain his image. These are all gifts from some uncles during the new year, and my father doesn't drink them often, so I brought some over. If you like, I'll bring them to you next time. Upon hearing this, Shiosi chuckled lightly and said to Gangsho. How could Shiosi come empty-handed to meet Gangsho? No matter how the relationship between one's mother and Gungute may be, some etiquette is still necessary. Upon hearing this, Gangsho casually glanced at the sake placed in the corner and took a sip of the black tea in the cup. Inexplicably, Gangsho felt that today's black tea was particularly flavorful. Black tea paired with wine, can you have a night to drink? I have a heart. In the end, Gangsho was also unable to say a refusal. Today is your first time here. Let's start with practical training with Shingshu and show me your current level. Gangsho stood up and walked towards the dojo while speaking to the cultivator. Practical combat is always the fastest way to understand a person's level. Okay. Upon hearing this, Shiosi nodded with a smile and glanced at Shingshu. Together with Shingshu, they followed Gangsho to the dojo of the Qiansho family. Shiosi-juan, I am really looking forward to the gentle fist of the Hinata family. On the dojo, the rope tree bowed to the abbot and eagerly said. Ah. Last time Daisy was defeated by the rope tree lord, but she has been feeling uncomfortable for a long time. Upon hearing this, Shiosi also bowed to the rope tree and gestured. I'm going up. His eyes became sharp, and as the words fell, Shingshu charged fiercely towards Shiosi. With a right-hand punch, a straight punch hit towards Shiosi's face. Upon seeing this, Shiosi reacted as soon as the rope tree entered his attack range. While placing both hands under the right arm of the rope tree, turned sideways while following the rope tree's force path backwards. Bang! A side kick appeared without warning and kicked straight towards the chest of the rope tree. It has to be said that the reaction of the rope tree is also very fast. Before being kicked in the chest, the rope tree's arm had already appeared in the chest. But even so, the figure of the rope tree, which was kicked by the cultivator, involuntarily retreated backwards. At the same time, the hand that Shiosi had originally placed under the right arm of the rope tree played a role at this moment. Wrapped tightly around the right hand of the rope tree with both hands, he threw it directly over his shoulder. Bang! As the body of the rope tree hit the ground, the repairman tightly locked the right hand of the rope tree with both hands and knelt on the tail vertebra of the rope tree with one knee. Hey! Light up! Light up! The other free hand kept patting the ground, and the rope tree, whose face turned red from holding back, loudly spoke to the repairman. Upon hearing this, Shiosi chuckled lightly and directly released his hand that had locked the rope tree. Pop pop pop. At this moment, with 3 rounds of applause, Gangsho looked at the scene before him with a smile in his eyes and whispered softly. What a beautiful physique. Watching the rope tree climb up from the ground, Gangsho immediately said to the rope tree. Have more time to learn physical skills with the Shiosi. Got it. Shingshu nodded at the words and smiled kindly at Shiosi. Being defeated is not a shameful thing, and not giving up after being defeated is the most shameful thing. This is the upbringing of the rope tree that has been engraved in its bones since childhood. The strength of the rope tree is still very strong. In terms of strength alone, I am not a match. Upon seeing this, Xiao Si whispered, this is not flattering the rope tree, but rather the Qianshou rope tree, who is the biological grandson of Qianshou Zhujian. Its physique is really far superior to that of its peers. Even with the steel tendons and iron bones that the cultivator has practiced for over 3 months, the current physical fitness alone cannot match that of the thousand-handed rope tree. After all, that gap has already surpassed talent and reached the level of blood inheritance limit. But Yuan, in the hands of a physical skill with less strength than me. Upon hearing this, Shengshu said to Xiaosi. So, this is soft fist. Upon hearing this, Xiaosi nodded and said to the rope tree. Is that so? Upon hearing this, Shengshu was taken aback and looked towards the confident and composed Sun Xiang cultivator standing in front of him. At some point, a gentle breeze brushed past, causing Xiaosi's hair to be disheveled while also blurring his delicate face. So handsome at that moment, a thought suddenly appeared in the heart of Shengshu. For the first time, a feeling of self-shame and impurity emerged in the heart of the young chieftain of the thousand-handed clan. Ah! I want to recommend a ticket, I want to give a reward, and I want a monthly pass whimpering. End of this chapter.